Hi, welcome to Smell the Flowers Yoga. My name's Jessica Flowers, and I hope that together we will practice some mindfulness, slow down, and learn to enjoy simple pleasures like smelling the flowers. So for today, I'm going to be doing a yin practice that focuses on poses that will help us to open up the flow of energy through our spleen and stomach meridians. So the spleen meridian actually starts in your big toe and runs up the inside of your legs up through your central part of your body, and it ends at the base of your tongue. And the stomach meridians actually start here next to your nose, go through the core of your body and down the tops of your legs and end in your second toe. So just to give you an idea, we'll be doing a lot of poses that will be stretching the insides of the legs, the top of the legs, and because they do go through our core, we'll be doing some poses that will be working that too. So you might see some familiarity if you did the heart and the lung meridian class that I did last time that worked mostly the upper body. So I wanted to talk about those two meridians a little bit. So you may know the spleen is a reservoir for blood. It produces lymphocytes and white blood cells, so that's really important for fighting infections. So that's a good thing to be doing this time of in our lives. And then the stomach is a primary organ of digestion, so it's kind of takes from what's outside and starts breaking that down and making it something useful for the inside of us. I just wanted to touch on too, emotionally, the spleen is spleen stomach energy as a link between ourselves and the world outside, and really one of the things I think that it is most useful for is it helps us to be at home within ourselves. So I want to start with kind of a grounding thing that I like to do often, especially if I'm going to be doing a slower practice like yin or doing some meditation, is just to start by noticing, I call this like the 3 perceptions. So just start by noticing what you can notice around you in your environment. So you can keep your eyes open for this, forgot to mention, but come into a comfortable seat. So your legs can be simply crossed, or another seat that's comfortable to you. I like to prop my hips up onto something so my hips are higher than my knees. That just creates more space here for breathing, and just feels better in my body. So you might try that. You could sit up on a folded blanket or a pillow or a block, or if you happen to have a bolster. And then just have a nice lengthening through your spine. So begin to notice that. And something you might try, like I always, when I think of a long spine, for some reason, like I tip my head up, but to lengthen the spine and your cervical spine, you actually want to tuck your chin down a little bit. So just notice, begin to get comfortable, just breathing as you normally would, not trying to control anything yet. We're going to start with exteroception, which is noticing what's going on around you. So you can scan your room. Maybe you notice something that you hadn't paid much attention to before. You can notice if you hear sounds, and just notice them. You don't have to think, is it a pleasing sound? Is it a displeasing sound? Just take note. And then we'll start to move to our body and noticing where our body is in that environment. So you can do, I like to start by noticing where my feet are touching the ground. You can notice where your sit bones are making contact either with the ground or any support that you're sitting on. Notice where you have your arms placed. Are they on your legs? Resting comfortably at your sides. Just notice where the position of them is. And then if you haven't already, you can begin to close your eyes or soften your gaze. And now start to notice your breath. Breathing in and out through your nose. Sometimes here I like to take one hand to my lower belly, one hand over my heart. That helps me to notice how my breath is moving my body. You can also begin to tune into your heart beating. When we tune in like this and we start to notice what's going on in our body, that's called interoception. Looking on the inside. And this is a really important skill to have, not just for doing a yoga practice or something like that, though it is really important. If you can be tuned into your body, you're much less likely to cause an injury because you'll notice when your body is giving you a pain signal. But it's also really useful if you think when you're out in your day-to-day activities. You know, are you noticing when you have to go to the bathroom or when you're hungry? Different things like that. If you notice that you don't notice those things a lot, then doing a simple practice like this can just take a few minutes, but it will help you to be more in tune with your body and more connected with your body. And that kind of relates to, Earth Day was this week, and I heard something, I didn't get it quite right, but it was something like, when we heal ourselves, we heal Mother Earth. So if you want to think about it that way, how we are all connected to each other, we're connected to everything really, but like if we're taking better care of ourselves, then it's also easier for us to take care of the earth. And just know that all individuals, all beings, everything in nature, we're all connected. So I hope you feel that connection, that wholeness that exists within you. And now you can make your way, gradually open your eyes, make your way onto hands and knees. We're just going to invite you into some, I'll show you cat-cow if you're not familiar with that, and then we'll just go into some free movement. I love this song that I found, and I like to play it in my yin classes. I did a little test, and I also found it was like on a free trade site. So I don't think this song is copyrighted, but it has words, so it makes me a little nervous. Hopefully I don't have to cut it out. But yes, coming onto hands and knees. It's called Mother, I Feel You. I love this song. Okay. And start to find some free movement, whatever feels good for your body right now. Turn this up just a smidge. When I post this on Facebook, I'll post the link to it too. There's a nice little YouTube with it. So Coming on to hands and knees, just start to feel the music in your body. You can do those cat and cow movements. You could tuck your chin, round your back up towards the sky. As you inhale, bring your chest, your chin forward, drop your belly down towards the mat. Exhale, tuck your chin, round your back up. Think of it like a rainbow. And then shining your heart forward with your inhale. After you do a few cat-cows to kind of open up your spine, then you might want to bring some free movement in. Just kind of use the music maybe. Rock from side to side. You could turn and look over one shoulder. You might even stretch that leg out a little bit. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ya hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya. Do some circles with your hips. Hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, hey ya, ho. Start as bigger. You know, you might start with small circles and then start to make them bigger. Eternal waters flowing on and on. Mother, I hear you in the river song. Eternal waters. And let your head go. Just find some free movements with your neck. You can start to maybe move in and out of some child's pose. That's where we're going to be making our way to. You can, kind of nice to even use that cat-cow movement as you come in and out of child's pose. So you can start to round your back up towards the ceiling, tuck your chin as you sit back, lower your arms down. And as you come forward back into tabletop, you can start to bring your heart forward, bring your chin up, and even have a little bit of arch down in your back with your shoulder blades coming together. So you might try playing around with that, see how that feels as a movement for your body. And then when you feel like you've had enough movement, you'll just make your way back into child's pose. You can send your knees a little bit wider, maybe out towards the edges of your mat. And send your arms out long in front of you. And just begin to tune inward. Maybe take this time to set an intention for your practice today. Maybe self-acceptance, loving, peace, wholeness. Father, I see you when the eagle flies. Light of the spirit's gonna Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. You can begin to walk your hands back in towards your body, coming back up out of that child's pose. Lift your hips up off your heels, and then maybe press into your hands so you can gently move your knees in a little bit more under your hips. I like this song too, but I'm going to move to some Native American flute music. And then we're going to come into, I'll show you from this angle. Actually, we're going to do a series of 3 poses. So I'm going to show you one option for the 3 poses, and then I'm going to show you a gentler option. So I'm just really going to quickly move through the 3 poses, and then I'll show you the gentler option, and then we'll go through it together. So first we're going to start with a half, and do half hero pose. So hero or saddle pose, this is sometimes called too. You have one leg out long in front of you. I'm going to start with my left leg out long. My right leg is folded, bent here, and my heel is just outside of my hip. So both of my sitting bones are on the mat. But what you'll notice here is this is an internal rotation for your right leg. And there aren't too many poses that we really do that have an internal rotation like that. So this is a nice one. And you can do both legs too, but for this series, we're just going to do half hero or saddle. And then from here, we're going to come forward. And you just watch for now. I'll take you through this more slowly. We're going to come forward into dragon. So this is like a low lunge. And I recommend you, if you have blocks or books or something like that, this will make it a little bit easier to have something to have your hands on. The blocks are nice because you could start up here, go down here, lower them all the way down. And you might put your hands on the mat, but just, since we took that time to slowly tune inward, just see if you can reconnect with that feeling and notice what your body is telling you that it would like for today. And then after we do dragon pose, we're going to come into pigeon or swan pose. And for that, so if I had my hands here like this, you're going to take your left ankle, because your left leg is now in front, it was out long before, and take it over by your right wrist, folding that leg out. And then I just walk my right leg back like this. I usually put a block or a blanket folded under that left hip for when we're going to be holding it longer here. So that's the progression of the 3 poses. We're going to go through, spend a couple minutes in each pose, and then we'll pause, and then we'll do the other side. So if you're on your back, a way to do that would be, you can start similarly with your left leg out long and your right leg bent. But for that sort of internal rotation feeling, you're just going to let that leg fall in over your left leg. So you're getting a little bit of internal rotation at the hip joint there. And then for I think what we're going to next, hero pose, you can bring your knee in towards your chest when we come into the dragon pose. And then when we do pigeon, you will take your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. This is called figure 4. So you can keep your foot on the ground if you like, or you can thread the needle and pass your arms through, grabbing onto the back of your thigh, or the front of your thigh, front of your shin, and then just adjust how you want that to be. So I'm going to do the first option that I showed, but know that you have this option to do everything on your back if that gentler option is speaking to you today. Okay, so just wanted to show you where we're headed. So coming down into our saddle or hero pose, left leg out long, right leg bent, foot by your hip here. You can notice how you can feel the line coming up the inside of your leg, the line is on the top of your leg. We're going to fold back here. So you can walk your hands back a little bit if you like. You might just stay here, or you might be staying upright. That a lot of times that's plenty of stretch already here for your bent leg. Or you can begin to walk your hands back. You might come onto your forearms. If you had something like a bolster, this is a nice spot to have the bolster behind your back as well. And you might come all the way onto your back, but just notice what your body is telling you. We're going to be here for a couple of minutes. If you notice your knee lifting up off the ground like mine was doing, I'm just going to come up a little bit more. You can close your eyes. You're safe. There's nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to be doing right now. One thing we often talk about in yin yoga is coming to your edge. And the thing to notice is that your edge may change over time. So you might start here, but after your body begins to relax and soften a little bit and feel comfortable and safe in this posture, it might let you go a little bit deeper. So if you were all the way upright, you might just try walking your hands back a little bit. Alright, and wherever you were with this, we're going to slowly make our way forward. So your right leg is going to be staying in back, and you're going to bend forward into your left knee. Got to adjust my foot a little bit here and back up. I'll hit my bed, but this is a nice place, especially if you're on a hard floor, to double up your mat. So you can just fold your mat in for a little bit more padding under your knee. Or if you have a blanket or something like that nearby, that is a nice option as well. Once I get like I'm feeling pretty good position, you can rock forward and back a little bit just to make sure that feels like good spacing for your body, and also just to bring a little bit of fluidity into the joint. You can, if you notice your kneecap is feeling a bit uncomfortable, you can tuck your back toe under and then just lift your knee up a little bit to let your kneecap settle back into its natural spot, and then set your knee back down and then relax your toes in the back. No need to keep the tension there. As you begin to settle in here, just feel your hips dropping towards the mat. Start our timer here. Press your big toe into the mat in the back and just see if you can feel that line coming up the inside of your leg, up through your groin area, up through your spine, and all the way through the top of your head. If you have a tendency to tilt your head back like I do, just tuck your chin a little bit so that you can get that length through the back of your neck. And then see if there's anywhere where you can soften and relax. And check in with your forehead, around your eyes. And open and close your jaw. And check your tongue. Maybe lower your tongue down away from the roof of your mouth. Just take a moment to notice the base of your tongue. Maybe repress into that big toe. See if you can feel that spleen energy line. If you have uncomfortable wrists, that's another reason I think the blocks are a little bit more comfortable for that. But if it feels all right for your body, you can also come down to your forearms. That's another option that might feel good, especially if you have sore wrists or if you have pillow or bolster. That's another option too. All right, we finished with that side. Now you can untuck your mat if you have that folded under. We're going to come into that pigeon or swan pose. So you're going to walk your left foot over by your right wrist, and then walk your left leg back a little bit. So the left leg, the foot's relaxed, toes are pointing back towards the back edge of your mat. And this front leg, it can be, it's really hard to have it actually parallel to the front of your mat. So just see what feels comfortable. You can have that heel in towards your groin as much as feels good for your body. I like to tuck a little something under my my hip on my folded leg. And then you have the option here, you can stay upright, but if you like, just make sure you're nice and long through your spine before you begin to fold forward. And then just take it nice and slowly. You can, if you have pillows or a bolster or something like that, it can feel really nice to lay on top of the bolster. If you're on your back, this is where you'd be in that figure 4 position, and you have the option to thread your arm through, lift your foot up off the ground, maybe bring your knee in a little closer towards your chest. And if you're in pigeon or swan and this is not feeling good for your body, feel free to make that adjustment onto your back. Good, folded forward. Just begin to press your hands into the ground and lift yourself back up. And take that folded leg, and what I would do is untuck it and send it all the way out behind you for a nice stretch. Maybe rocking forward and back a little bit. If you're on your back, you can send that leg up towards the ceiling, point and flex your toe. And then maybe find any other movement that feels good. Maybe a little rocking your hips from side to side. And we're just going to come into a pausing position just to take notice of how that feels with the different sides of our body that we worked, and just take a moment to tune inward. So if you're currently, with your belly down, you could sit back to a child's pose if that's something that you really like, or you could come all the way onto your belly. If you're on your back, you can just come into a brief shavasana. We'll just take about a minute here just to pause, notice how your body feels, take a moment to tune back into your breath. Take a moment to recall your intention, if you set an intention for your practice today. Maybe just send healing thoughts to your body, healing thoughts to the earth. And then we're going to do that on the other side, so you can start just coming up to hands and knees again. And then I typically start by bending both knees, coming into a full hero saddle. And then leaning, we'll keep our left leg bent this time. So I like to lean over to the left a little bit, even putting my left hand on the ground there, and then just unfold my right leg, send it out long in front of me, and then settle back down. Make sure you're settled into both sitting bones, pressing into the mat, your left heel just outside of your left hip, your foot relaxed in the back. And if this is kind of uncomfortable for you, either your ankle, a lot of people have discomfort in their ankle there, you can kind of roll a little bit of a roll in your blanket and create just a little bit more space under your ankle. Or what some people do too is put a blanket between their thigh and their shin. So if you've got those props around, I always recommend having, if you have blocks, that's great. They're always really useful to have a couple of blocks. A blanket or towels can work as well, and some pillows. Sometimes even couch cushions or things like that can work if you don't have a bolster. So. Now you can have the options here to kind of notice your edge and maybe see if that changes a little bit as we hold this pose. Begin to walk your hands back. bolster here so you can see how that would look. And I'm going to take it slow, so I'm going to just keep walking my hands back a little bit further. You might come down onto your forearms. You can see if you have something here to support your low back. And it's nice to be able to relax your head down onto that as well. And then you can just relax your arms down comfortably by your sides. Close your eyes here, knowing that you're safe. You might just take this moment to send a little gratitude for that. I'm safe, I'm healthy. If you had reclined back, you can begin to use your arms to your hands, press into the mat and bring yourself back upright. And then once you get centered, begin to move your hands forward and pressing into the mat, coming forward with that right knee bent in front. Move your bolster if you had that behind you. And here's where, again, you might have the blocks to have your hands on. You can walk that back leg back a little bit. You can get a little deeper into your lunge, dragon pose. And again, just take a moment to rock back and forth, bringing some fluid into that joint. And then just stay. Tuck your toe, lift your kneecap up off the ground if you need that, and fold up your mat if your knees needs a little more padding. This is a great stretch for your psoas muscle, which is one of the muscles that makes up your hip flexors. It's actually kind of neat because it's might be the only muscle or one of the few muscles that connects your lower body to your upper body. So it connects to your back, your spine and your low back, and then comes through your pelvis. So I think is really neat about that is that a lot of times your low back pain might actually be caused by a tight psoas muscle. So this, because you're like you bend forward a lot. A lot of us are hunched forward a lot throughout the day, and that muscle can be a little bit shortened. So you might not like this pose, but it's really good for you. And flexing your wrists, if that's kind of bad for you, you can try like just creating a fist and putting your fist down on the block, kind of keeping your wrist a little bit more straight. Or you can bring both arms inside of your bent leg and maybe come onto your forearms. That's a nice place too. You can even use your blocks and bring, if coming down onto your forearms is the ground's too far away, you can bring the blocks, bring your forearms down onto your blocks. It's kind of make our way into pigeon or swan pose. So walk your left foot over by, right foot this time, over by your left wrist, and then bring that ankle in as far as you need to towards your groin, what feels comfortable for you. I then like to walk my back leg back a little bit to help bring my hips lower to the ground. Your hip may be way up here, in which case be nice to put a block or something under there, because you want to be able to relax your muscles. If you're gripping or having tension in your muscles, you're not going to get that nice effect from the yin practice that is our fascial tissue can soften and start to release and relax a little bit. So you want to find whatever you need to so that you can let as much of your musculature relax as you can. So you can see how I kind of just tuck a blanket under there to give my body a place to rest. And then you have the option, you can stay upright, just make sure you have a nice long spine. Or you can begin to walk your hands forward. You can stack your arms one on top of the other. You could have your elbows bent and bring your forehead onto the palms of your hands. That can feel nice. I don't have enough space here, but you could set your arms out long in front of you and bring your belly and your chest all the way down to the mat, if that feels good for your body. Just tune in and see if there's any place that you're holding tension that you can let go. You might try sending your breath to that area. It's a nice saying I like that says, where your breath goes, your energy flows. So if you feel like you have a blockage in your energy anywhere, or just some discomfort in your body, you can try breathing and sending your focus to that place. As you inhale, imagine you're bringing nice positive healing energy there. And then as you exhale, just let that discomfort, let that blockage release and go. Inhale, you can begin to come back upright, press your hands into the mat, and then begin to, I like to walk my back leg in a little bit by tucking my toes under, and then pressing into your hands, create a little space so you can send your right leg back out long behind you. If you're on your back, you can send it up towards the ceiling, just point and flex your foot a little bit. You can just kind of rock forward and back a little here. All right, and then again, just take a moment to pause. So you might find a child's pose or laying down on your belly. If you're on your back, coming again into a brief shavasana, and just check in again. Now that we've completed both sides with all three of those postures, whatever position you're in, just use your hands, use your arms. We're going to slowly, gradually come up to a seated position. We're going to do a wide leg forward fold here. So dragonfly pose. You might want to prop your hips up on something. So I am folding my blanket here. Sometimes people will even sit up on a pillow or a bolster. Just kind of helps your pelvis tilt forward as you come into your forward fold. And since I'm on carpeting, this is pretty good for my heels. But if you're on a hard floor, you might want to turn sideways like I am here and move so that your heels can be on your mat. That takes a lot of the discomfort out of the heels. And then we're going to do just a simple forward fold here today, not doing the lateral bends like when we were doing the heart-lung meridians, because here we're focusing more on the spleen on the inside of the leg and the stomach line that comes along the top of your legs. So you might even just, that's what I was just doing, but that's what I was thinking as we come forward into this forward fold. And your legs can be as wide as you like, or, they might only be here. This is still a wide leg forward fold. And your knees can have a little bit of bend, a lot of bend. If they're a little bit of bend, so you can, depending on how bent they are, you might bring some blocks or something under your knees, just so, again, you can let your muscles relax. You don't want any sort of tensing or gripping as we do these postures. So as you exhale, I think this is a nice way to do it, is just to slide your hands down your legs. That gives you that nice, the proprioception, which is the sensing where your body is in space, by having your hands connect with your legs, and also just connecting with those energy lines, So once you get here, you want to find some sort of supports so your head has a place to rest. So I like to use the blocks because you can adjust the height of them pretty easily as you hold the pose. You can kind of, as your body begins to relax, you might be able to keep lowering the height of the blocks. If you do have a bolster, this is a really nice place to do it. You can just rest your forehead on it like that, or some people would have it on its side like this. If you only have one block or something like that, or anything that you have that you might be able to set your elbows on, or maybe your elbows are all the way to the floor, you could bend your arms and rest your head just on your forehead on the palms of your hands like this. inhale, make your way back up. We're going to bring the soles of our feet together, coming into a butterfly pose. So we're actually going to be doing a reclined butterfly pose. So you might, I'm going to turn sideways because I don't actually have enough room here. And if you're, like to lay back onto your mat, you might want to turn sideways as well. And I think for this, the option, I'm going to recline back, but if you, if that's not comfortable for you, or you don't have something to recline back onto, you could go forward if that's better for you as well. I just think you get a little bit more of the sense of the lines in the top of your leg and the inside of your leg when you fold backwards with this one. Okay. So soles of the feet together, knees falling out wide to the sides. You can bring supports in under your knees, like the blocks, or you can see what I'm doing with my blanket here. Just taking it, rolling it. You can place that over your ankles and then take the edges of it to tuck under your shins. It's my favorite way to do it. And then just walk your hands back as you come down onto a bolster. You might, see how it is. You might be able to come all the way flat onto your back. Just take it nice and slowly. Use your hands to support you and your arms as you come back, so that if you go slow and you listen to your body while you're doing it, then your body is really good at telling you so that you don't hurt yourself. This is a great pose, especially if you're reclined, to take that hand, one hand to your lower belly, one hand to your heart. Notice the rise and the fall of your hands as you breathe in and out. See if you can notice your heart beating. Compared to the beginning of class, does it feel like your breath is maybe a little slower? Maybe your heart rate is a little slower also. You've made it. We'll make our way into our final resting pose. So I'll cue you into Shavasana, but if you have another pose that's more comfortable, maybe you like lying on your side or your belly, or even sitting, just do what feels best for your body. To take this time to just enjoy being, enjoy resting, taking care of your body. for your Shavasana, just send your legs out long. If you feel like you have any remaining energy, you can just let your feet rock from side to side a little bit and then fall open. Similarly, your arms can just rest comfortably down by your side. You might rock your wrists a little bit side to side and then just let them comfortably rest. You might do the same with your neck. Just rock it from side to side a little bit. You tuck your chin a little bit, particularly if it's arched its way back to create a little more length through the back of your neck. And know that you can always cover up with a blanket or bring in any other props or supports that help you feel more comfortable. I remembered recently that I had one of these eye pillows. If you have one of these, or even just like a folded up washcloth or something like that, or if you had a cover shirt on earlier that you took off, it can be really nice to just place that over your eyes to kind of block out the light. If you're in a class, your teacher would normally turn the lights off for you, but that's something I've noticed being at home. I'm not going to take the get myself all out of my relaxed state to get up and turn off the light. So having something that you can just place over your eyes helps to get into that more deep, relaxed state. Have a couple of minutes here. I'm going to come up to seated. In a few minutes, you'll hear me ring my bells to help bring you out of Shavasana. Begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe circle your wrists and your ankles. You might Bring your knees in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around your knees. Just give yourself a hug. Take a moment to send a note of gratitude to yourself for taking time for your practice. Gratitude for your body and all that it's done for you. And gratitude for being safe and healthy. And then you can roll over onto your side. Just cradle your head and your lower arm for a moment. Take a few breaths there. And then press your top hand into the ground. Use that to lift yourself back up to a seated position. For a simple pleasure practice this week, I encourage you to go outside without your shoes on and just take a moment to press your feet into the earth and feel that connection with the earth. Maybe repeat to yourself that when you heal yourself, when you take care of yourself, you are also taking care of and honoring the earth. Let's bring our arms out to our sides. As you inhale, scoop up all the positive, loving, healing energy that you cultivated in your practice today. And then bring that energy down into your heart space. Bowing to yourself, acknowledging that light, that love, that energy exists inside of you. It's always there for you to tap into. We just have to remember that it's there sometimes. And then we bow to each other, acknowledging that light and love exists in each and every one of us. Thank you so much for practicing, joining me in this practice. Namaste.